Yo, yo, yo! What's up, everybody? What's up, Steph? Get this stuff all set here. Invite. You're invited. You're all invited.
Hey,
Hello,
babe.
hello. How are you?
Hi.
How did the week go?
It went
The
well.
Fashion Week go?
It went well. It ended last night
Awesome.
with a bang. I feel like you guys would know Michael Kors, the brand.
Yeah, cool. He played. He came and played.
Yeah,
Or, the brand is a big brand. Yeah, sorry, he didn't play. He had a
co-
show.
yep, exactly.
Okay,
And he had like a whole but he always has like he has a big budget because he's so old, like in terms of like industry wise, like
been
he's been
around a bit.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he can have a lot of top models. And so like last night we did Gigi, we did Bella, we did Irina, which is Bradley Cooper's
Wow.
ex. They're all so fucking beautiful. I can't. Oh my god.
Oh.
Ugh. Blake
Okay,
Lively
Barbie.
was there. Blake
Wow.
Lively touched
That's
me.
pretty.
It was
Oh my God,
amazing.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I'm so happy that you are
Blake
enjoying
Lively
all.
touched me.
It was
Oh
literally
my
for one
goodness.
second. It was one finger, but she fucking touched me.
That's all that counts. You got a finger. Just a finger.
I got a finger.
Great.
All
But I'm
right.
happy.
Well,
I'm happy to be back because I missed you guys. Really, though, it really changes my morning being here. So, love you.
mm.
But you never left. I mean, you were with us
You were
for
with us the whole
yeah,
time.
you
It's
never
true.
left. What are you talking about? I mean, the
I know.
meditations, Steph, you were yesterday's, I mean, I know that you had to leave earlier, but did you hear yesterday's session?
Not yet. I haven't even had time
Oh
to
my God,
re-listen to it yet.
you need to do the
I will.
replay because
I
of
will.
your meditation. That really ignited like a huge revelation for me. So thank you very much. Even if
Oh,
you
I didn't do
weren't, you did.
yesterday. Lee's been
What
doing
is
recently.
it?
He's
Oh,
been killing it. I
She
guarantee you.
she gave me
oh,
one day, but that inspiration took me through to the next couple of days, and so I
oh,
think
honey,
you'll
so
find that
thank
it's
you.
going to keep getting better. So Steph,
Good.
we'll work
Ah.
with each
Good.
other to make it better, better.
But yesterday's meditation really triggered something inside that it was really wonderful. So thank you, Lee. I thought it was like a Steph's meditation. I was saying, oh my God, she's really good at it.
I know, I know. It's better if I spread
But you are,
around.
Steph. But you are.
It's better if
Lee is really good at it. I
Yeah,
honestly, when you were doing it every morning and you were doing it from just like reading from the
yeah,
book, I was so impressed.
yeah. His voice is
That's
amazing.
hard.
I I
Ah,
I thank you, thank you. It's just coming out, and all I'm doing is opening my mouth. It's all good. Very very grateful for how it's turning out, and it's definitely helping me grow. So
well, you're
we're
doing
getting there.
miracles. Thank you.
All right. Well, I have everything set up. You guys ready? It's workbook lesson 47. God is the strength in which I trust. Time to take our vision down to a deeper level of trust. And I think I've got my pattern to follow set as well. So here we go. Lesson 47. God is the strength in which I trust. If you're trusting in your ego's strength, morning, Trish. Welcome. You're just in time, perfectly in time. God is the strength in which I trust. If you're trusting in your own ego's strength, you have every reason to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. What could your own egoic mind predict or control? What is there in you that can be counted on? What would give you the ability to be aware of all the facets of any problem and to resolve any problem in such a way that only good could come of it? What is there in you that gives you the recognition of the right solution and the guarantee that the right solution will be accomplished? Of your egoic self, you can do none of these things. To believe that your egoic mind can do these things is to put your trust where trust is unwarranted, and to justify fear, anxiety, depression, anger, sorrow. Who can put his faith in the weakness of your egoic mind and feel safe? Nobody. Who can put his faith in the strength that comes from God and feel weak? God is your safety in every circumstance. God's voice, the Holy Spirit, speaks for God in all situations and in every aspect of all situations, telling you exactly what to do to call upon God's strength and God's protection. There are no exceptions because God has no exceptions. And the voice which speaks for God, we call him the Holy Spirit, thinks as God does. Today we'll try and reach past our egoic mind's weakness to the source of real strength, which is God. We're going to do 4 5-minute practice periods. And if we've got time, we're going to get some little frequent ones in there. So 4 5-minute practice periods, and we're going to spread it out and try and pull this thought back into our days over and over. God is the strength in which I trust. The way we're going to run the meditation, and I'll be doing it in just a little while so we can get one in our belts, is close your eyes and begin as usual by repeating the idea for the day. God is the strength in which I trust. Then spend a minute or two searching for situations in your life which you've invested with fear. Dismissing each fearful situation by telling yourself, God is the strength in which I trust. Just doing some highlighting here so that I've got it ready for myself when we do the meditation. All right. Now, next paragraph, the 5th paragraph of this lesson is, now try to slip past all concerns related to your own sense of inadequacy. This might be the hardest part of today's lesson, at least for me. All right, get myself out of the way so that I can put my trust in God, I think. It's obvious that any situation that causes you concern is associated with feelings of inadequacy. For otherwise, you would believe that you could deal with the situation successfully. It's not by trusting your egoic self that you will gain confidence, but the strength of God is successful in all things. Okay, I'm going to come back to that sentence several times. The strength of God in you is successful in all things. The strength of God in you is successful in all things. That's good stuff. The recognition of your own frailty is a necessary step in the correction of your egoic mind's errors. But the recognition of your own ego's frailty is hardly a sufficient step in giving you the confidence in which you need and to which you are entitled. You must also gain an awareness that confidence in your real strength, which comes from God, is fully justified in every respect and in all circumstances. In the latter phase of today's practice period, try to reach down into your mind to a place of real safety. You will recognize that you have reached a place of real safety if you feel a sense of deep peace, however briefly. Let go all the trivial things that churn and bubble on the surface of your mind and reach down below these trivial thoughts into the kingdom of heaven that is there. There is a place in you where there is perfect peace. There is a place in you where nothing is impossible. There is a place in you where the strength of God abides. During the day, repeat the idea that God is the strength in which I trust often. Use that idea that God is the strength in which I trust as your answer to any disturbance. Remember that peace is your right because you are given your trust to the strength of God. That's the end of the lesson. Thank you all for joining me. It's wonderful that you're all here. Hi, Andy, Michael, Louise. It's so great to see all you guys. I'm so grateful for you joining us. Dashita, Nabi, Charlotte, Jordan, if you guys feel like sharing, and TJ too, just raise your hands. Happy to welcome you up. We are reading from A Course in Miracles workbook for dummies. It's Wednesday, February 17th. We're headed up to the top of the hour, and we start here at about 6:37 every day. Hey, Stan, fantastic. All right, we got people joining us on Zoom. I'm sending this out to our Facebook group, which you can get to. It's up at the top. Big link up at the top leads to our Facebook group. All the videos that I've recorded are there. And today, if you want to go there, you can see the book that I'm reading out of. Sometimes that helps. We also are sending it out to Twitch and YouTube, if that's helpful. Sure is easier to connect on Twitch and be able to share stuff. So happy to share that kind of thing. Our books are located in the Facebook group. So if you don't have a copy of the book, you can go in there and find where to buy them. And with that, I'm going to jump into the notes, and then I'm going to do our meditation. And then I'm going to let everybody else speak. So we're off to have a great morning, everybody. You can say hi if you want to. Go for it. Or not, no big deal. All right, notes to lesson 47. God is the strength in which I trust. Fear arises anytime you believe that you lack the creative ability to handle a given situation. Whether you actually do have the ability to handle a situation or you do not have the ability, that truth is irrelevant. Your beliefs, not the truth, will determine when fear will arise within your egoic mind. You, as the decision maker, must decide which thought system you will follow. Each thought system is based on a different understanding of who you really are. The ego's thought system is based on the belief in limitation, lack, and separation. This thought system is the source of all fear. Accept your ego's belief that you're the body, and you must accept the limitations that come with that sack of bones. When you believe in your limitation, you have every reason to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. The second thought system is represented by your inner guide, the Holy Spirit. It's based on the belief system that you are unlimited spirit, part of the mind of God. In this thought system, for truth with a capital T, love and forgiveness rule. You remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. Your strength comes from your source, which is the mind of God itself. Your ego does not know who you truly are because its beliefs about you are wrong. Your ego's fear-based thought system will always leave you in a state of fear. To escape the fear, you must place your trust in the Holy Spirit, who knows that you are God's beloved Son. When you place your trust in the strength from God, you are safe from your ego's belief in limitation. The laws of perception have no ability to bind a son of God unless you decide to abdicate your own power and you argue for your own limitations. Your egoic belief in your inadequacy is the source of all fears. Your acceptance and trust in the Holy Spirit is your salvation. The strength of God is your source for your inner peace. That is your destiny. The advice of the Holy Spirit protects you from all egoic misperceptions. Provisional reality has no power to change the truth. You remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete. Our question for the day is, can you ever escape your fear of inadequacy if you believe that you are the body and the body is you? We'll come back to that. How about we do our meditation? If you've got an app that helps you remind yourself how often to do this meditation, dial that in 4 times today, okay? I'll take a moment and set up mine as well. Then we can dive into this meditation, and we will have accomplished more before 9 o'clock than most people do all day. Take a minute to say good morning if you want. I'll get myself ready.
Well, good morning, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful day yesterday. And this is something curious that I want to share, because yesterday I had an appointment with my lawyer that I haven't seen. I haven't seen my lawyer like since last year. It was like probably like 6 months or something. I haven't spoken to her because we had made progress with the mediation document, but my husband didn't ever took it into consideration. So I was just waiting. But then this week lessons have gave me another perspective on it. So I called her again to move forward with the divorce by my side. And what is fun is just that I just noticed that my lawyer office has this huge sign in front of her building that says 47. And now this lesson is the lesson 47. God is the strength in which I trust. So I think I've been guided, guys.
Fantastic. That's funny. We all kind of look for little signs. I went looking for a lawyer, and the first one I hired because she had the last name of my cousin who's a lawyer. I don't know why that seemed like, oh, that must be the one. And then the next lawyer I hired her because she had the first name of my cousin who's a lawyer. It's a dumb reason to choose a second lawyer. Anyway, when that one fired me, I found a great lawyer named Jennifer who became a judge, and so she dropped me, and she passed me off to the other lawyer that was in her group, and he took me on for a little while until he said, I can't do anything to help you. He dumped me. Lawyers are funny.
Well, mine is very good, in fact, but yeah,
I believe
lawyers
you.
are funny.
Yeah, I
Well,
definitely find that a female lawyer is the right kind of lawyer to have if you're a male going into divorce. I think it helps a ton.
I would like to share what happened yesterday after the amazing meeting that we had. And I shared something that was extremely important to me about Liberia and whether or not to continue, because we were lacking the funds that we need up front. And before the day was over, there were 2 additional people who can provide some funding that we need. And we contacted each other, and we're going to have a phone call this morning with one of them. A third one that my brother, Ruvain, remembered that he couldn't remember. He's been trying to remember the guy's name for a year, and it came to him yesterday. And he says, I'm going to try and get him. And he happens to have gone to school with the president of Liberia, which would be extremely helpful to have him on our side.
Oh my God, that is so wonderful. I'm thrilled to hear this news.
And then I was talking, and this is very important for everybody here. I should have called Stephanie first, back channeled her, and told her asked her what to do, because my daughter Linda from Vietnam, and I think most of you know that story, is going to be visiting me on my birthday. And on this Sunday, I was talking to her last night. She said she wants to read the lesson, because I told her what we talk about, and she said, I believe in that. I believe in that. She said, can I read a lesson?
She wants to participate, right? Not read.
Wants to participate.
Yeah.
So lesson 58. So on Sunday, February 27th, she will be reading the lesson for the day. Just want you to know. And I wish it was all on Zoom so you could see her. But Lee, I'm going to ask you whenever you have a chance, because you're not going to be here, can you please help her get into Clubhouse? Take care of all that stuff with her.
Of course, Father.
Okay,
No problem.
Thank you, son. So I am feeling really terrific this morning, and I'm very excited about the fact that, we had talked about miracles. I told her she was my miracle, and so on and so on. And she said the same thing back to me. So she wants to join, and she will, and she wants to read. So I actually sent her yesterday's lesson so she could actually look at it. I read a little bit to her, and then I sent it to her. So I'm very, very excited about things. My whole endeavor in Liberia is not only back on track, but it's triply supported more than it was yesterday. And I took a chance, and that's what it says here. Nothing is impossible. I was telling Linda last night that what we're going to do, and she said, what? You're going to do what? How, you're going to do that? Oh, Daddy, I'm so proud of you. And that's my 50-year-old daughter saying that, and I can't tell you how much that meant to me. And all of this is miraculous. It just is so amazing, and why I'm even doing it. And it's there's no fear.
It's God.
It's God is protecting me, loving me all the way through this thing, and I'm just having a ball. So there you have it. Okay, that's it for the moment. Thank you.
Wonderful news. What a way to start my morning. Thank you. I really, really want to hug you right now because I'm super happy for you.
Oh, I would like to have you hug me too, but it's a long way.
All right, I hate to break up this love fest, but how about I get us back to our meditation?
Don't be jealous. I love you too.
I'm not jealous. Okay. Oh my God. All right. So, if you need to set yourself some reminders like I do so that I don't forget to do this, we're doing 4 today. So, I'm going to take care of one right now. And I'm going to go into my little app and maybe set up one reminder for like 11 o'clock, and then maybe we're somewhere like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then before we go to bed. That's probably the 4 times I'll try and do it today. So if that helps a little bit, when 11 o'clock rolls around, when 3 o'clock rolls around, when bedtime rolls around, you can think back to what we're going to do in a moment or two. And you can use that to guide yourself in this meditation. If you need information from the lesson, we have it in our Facebook group. There's a link up top. I'm going to read out of a workbook, Course in Miracles workbook for Dummies, to kind of pull some of this meditation stuff together, but it's all come from the book, so nothing you don't have access to. All right, let's take a couple of deep cleansing breaths. I like to do 3 to kind of get us started. So let's start by breathing in through our nose. I want you to breathe in as deep as you can for about 5 seconds and hold that deep breath. We're going to do 5, 5, 5, 5. So hold for 5, then breathe out for 5. Try and hold that out breath for a moment or two before you breathe. Deep, deep, deep as you can breathe. Fill your lungs up. Fill those balloons up with air and hold that breath now. Hold on to it and then release it. Whoosh. Let it all out. Breathe out for 5. Try and hold that out breath for a moment. Now breathe in some cleansing air, that final deep breath to fill your lungs to capacity, and hold it. Hold that air in your lungs. And let's release. Close your eyes. God is the strength in which I trust. This is the phrase to hold in your mind today. God is the strength in which I trust. Search your mind for a moment. Anything in your life that has fear, any kind of fearful situation, is a perfect example for us to focus on today. Take that situation, hold that image in your mind, send this energy towards it. God is the strength in which I trust. Dismiss these fearful situations by telling yourself, God is the strength in which I trust. Think of the next one. God is the strength in which I trust. Anywhere you might feel inadequate, look at that. God is the strength in which I trust. You don't have to rely on that little ego, because God is the strength in which I trust. The strength of God in you is successful in all things. Any other fearful situations you have, focus this energy at it. God is the strength in which I trust. Our egos and ourselves on our own, we can't do much. But when once you realize the strength of God in you is successful in all things, you can realize God is the strength in which you trust. Your real strength comes from God and is fully justified in every respect and in all circumstances for your confidence to know that an answer is coming. Sometimes you need do nothing. Otherwise, God will make it clear to you what the next best action is. So when it's not coming to mind, put it back in His hands. Let Him guide you. There is a place in you where there is perfect peace. There is a place in you where nothing is impossible. There is a place in you where the strength of God abides. So today, as you go throughout your day, repeat the idea that God is the strength in which I trust, and use that idea that God is the strength in which I trust as your answer to any disturbance today. Remember that peace is your right, because you're giving your trust to the strength of God. All right, let's start breathing normally. Take ourselves back up. Today, God is the strength in which I trust will be a guiding thought for me, and I hope it will be for you as well. Thanks for joining me in this early part of our session. We've read through the lesson, we've done our meditation, and we can talk all about it now. But I really appreciate you all being here, adding energy to this space so we can all grow together. Thanks, everybody.
It's hard to follow up after that meditation and the power of this particular lesson. And it's amazing because I'm thinking back to when I first started, and I read that, but did I really believe it at first? And I think there was more hope than absolute belief. And it's one of the reasons that I like to share, and we all do, when we do and have trusted in that, and these things happen. These are amazing miracles. And I mentioned to Linda, who, for those of you who don't know, I'll just briefly say that she is my daughter who found me after looking for me for 50 years. A daughter that I had when I was in Vietnam with her mother, my wife at the time, and I never saw her. In fact, she wasn't born yet. She was born 3 months after I left Vietnam. And all of that said, she found me on just around Father's Day of last year and came to see us, and we've gotten to know her. Lee has a sister for the first time in his life. He had to wait 49 years for it, but he's got it.
Boy, was my daughter happy that I finally had a sibling who could understand sibling relationships. Ay.
Ay, ay, ay. And now Lee, as you can see, is obviously very involved in Course in Miracles, and Linda is very interested in it. And she has 3 children, and her oldest daughter, her only daughter actually, got married several months ago, and I walked her down the aisle 2 days after I met her in person. And Lee was there, and it was a grand, festive, wonderful experience in our lives. So I'm just going to say this stuff works. And I mentioned to her, I said, this is the most amazing thing that's happened to me. And then I edited myself, second only to you finding me. That was the greatest miracle. And so I did everything right. I said everything right. And this new deal that's going on now, the Liberia is going to make quite an impression on this planet of ours. So I'm extremely happy today. I'm extremely fulfilled, and my belief and it's not even so much my belief is in God, and that's where my strength rests. It doesn't come because I come to these meetings, but I learn that it is there because I come to these meetings. I hope you will all tell your friends to come the Sunday before March 1st. Well, actually, it's a week from Sunday, because my daughter is going to read. Of course, my son reads every day, but she's going to read the lesson. So that's it. And I'm going to be quiet now, so let other people talk. I'm going to try to be quiet.
Well, if nobody wants to share, Tom,
I guess
go.
I'll say something. This lesson actually says what the source of fear is. It says that anytime we feel that we're inadequate to handle a given situation, we'll move into fear. So that's really the source of fear is our belief in our inadequacy. And basically, fear arises anytime you get either of these two questions uh, wrong or not right. Okay. The first is, what am I? Okay. Are you a limited ego body, or are you something much, much more? And then the second is, what do I value and why? Whenever we speak of what do I value and why, do I value doing something because I believe that I need that something to quote unquote make me happy? Or am I doing something because I wish to as an expression of what my true being is? Otherwise, I'm trying to demonstrate what I believe the principles that I've chosen to guide my life as I'm trying to live in integrity with those principles. If I believe that I'm a helpful person, then I want to have my actions demonstrate that idea of who I am. If in a situation where I could be helpful, I choose not to be helpful, that just gives me a uh, where the rubber meets the road. This is what this world is for. It's designed to give us opportunities to demonstrate in difficult circumstances whether or not we can be the traits that we supposedly, or the principles that we say we're going to use to guide our lives. And if we find out that in this situation I wasn't helpful, I actually, that just means that I responded in some way of a fear based, uh, I moved into fear. And all that that means is that I don't have to beat myself up about it. What I have to do whenever I enter that creation cycle, I move into the feedback stage in which I look and I say, how did I do? What was the results? And then I look and I say, were those results that I wanted? Were they not? And then I look at that and I say, do I need to make any mid course corrections? Mid course corrections would be modifications of beliefs that I had or modifications of my actions, so that in the future, if that circumstance repeats itself, and it will if there's still a learning lesson for me to gather from it, it'll repeat. And now, because of that past so-called failure, which was a successful way of identifying one way that will not work, I'll have that additional information, and I'll be able to perhaps perform better because I'll have a higher skill level, I'll have practice, and now maybe the next time around I'll be able to perform and live up to my ideal standard and maybe be helpful. So this world is just a place where we get to demonstrate in difficult situations what we truly believe. It's easy to say, if I was you, I would do this, or to say, if I was in that situation, I would do this. But can you? And that's what this world is for. It's to demonstrate that we really were acting in accordance with our guiding principles. And if we didn't act that way, all that is that just gives us some feedback to tell us that we need to hone that skill a little bit more. We need to trust in our higher self, our whatever. And we also probably need to look at those first two questions, which is, what am I? And if we mistake ourselves for the body and we think of ourselves as an earner instead of a learner, we'll move into fear. So, but this lesson, talks about fear and the source of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I do feel like this is a really great lesson. It certainly felt powerful coming through me, and as the observer of watching my body read the lesson, it felt like, this sounds like it's going to be really helpful today. It does feel like this is the first one where we're moving away from any kind of physical seeing or vision or looking around the room. We're really moving into the situations that cause our ego problems. These are the societal kind of things we're supposed to be doing that we feel guilt if we're not, or we feel whatever we feel about it. In this case, it usually is an ego feeling, and something that I can allow God to let peacefully float on by if I let Him solve the problem that I'm in.
And it also mentions, in which I trust. We have to trust in the big picture and know that the Holy Spirit, God, kind of has our backside, and everything is unfolding perfectly for our reawakening to the truth of who we are. So we just trust that, and that's why it says earlier in some of these lessons, everything is in my best interest. We need to have some faith in that, and when we look back, we'll on these things, and we arrive at our final destination, which is the peace of God, we'll realize that I needed all those steps, to get to where I am, because you're driving to your future, and that's where we're going, and that's the reawakening to the truth. Thank you again.
Sean, good morning.
Good
You have your
morning.
mic open,
I
so
sure do.
okay.
Yeah,
How
so
are you? How are you feeling today?
oh, waking up. Yeah, definitely feeling better.
Great.
Valentine's Day was a full day, to say the least. But what Tom was saying, I just had this flash where, you know, the the difference is what you can do versus what you want to do. And what is your reaction? What is your value system? And all of that goes into what I would actually do in a fear situation, or honestly in any situation. But I'm finding just through your words that truth is a key component, right? Because if I set up myself for negative situations where I'm overreaching beyond where I know I can reach, right? So setting up this failure loop, and then that failure loop then kind of sets into fear when I try to do something like that again. And I think what it comes down to is, to thy own self be true, right? That if I know myself and I know my own bounds and I know my own limits, then maybe that's where I can break through the fear. Is if I know my limits and I know I can step over just a little bit, and then maybe next time a little bit more. And, having the courage to change, because courage is a very key part of this. Courage is um, that gap in between powerful and not powerful behavior, right? Because if I have the courage to change, that means I am upward mobile. Um, if I don't have the courage to change, I'm going to repeat exactly what I did over and over. And I think that courage represents the truth that is required to get away from fear, because fear is a very draining emotion, right? Versus being at peace, versus being in bliss, versus love. And in order to get to love, I have to pierce through this veil of fear, and that also includes intimacy with myself, with others. And that's just a totally different level of truth in knowing, my limits, being able to admit to those, um, being true and honest. And, through that, some people think that, well, if I'm honest, or if, I see everything the way it is, the truth, then I'm weaker, because I'm not going to go as far. But having the courage to change, having that truth and that courage, that changes everything. And so, Tom, I really appreciate what you said. And thank you.
There's something about what Sean just said, because it is a good way. I mean, it is true, all the things that he said, but it's just that limits. I always, ever since I encountered this course, I was like really reversing all my belief systems from the beginning. And one of the realizations that I got into was like, well, yeah, God, in God there's unconditional love. So as we are in duality, we do have that access to the unconditional love, but here it seems like we need to consider it like in the reverse mode, because here in duality the love is conditional to what? To lose the fear. So the limits that Sean was talking about, like acknowledging like you have some limits, and that in intimacy you have to like acknowledge all of those things in order for you to have the courage to move forward or whatever. For me, it's like, yeah, you get to say that you have limits, but only when you express it, when you share it, is when you really understand that you really don't need to think about yourself in limits. I mean, limits is something that comes from duality. It's something that is a concept here in duality. But in God, there's no limits. In God, love only can expand. And the limits are barriers. So if you ever think that you are that you have limits on your way of on your way of managing yourself or going around some circumstances, is because that limit is a barrier that needs to be expressed in order for be acknowledged, and then then you will be able to come around that idea and see that you are limitless. When you have courage to speak the truth, I mean, it's just that the courage that Sean is talking about is really something else, something different from what I thought it was in the past. Courage is really being able to express your truth or those so-called limits in order for you to see them outside of you, acknowledge them, understanding that those limits are not real. When you express your thoughts, when you express your feelings, when you express your fears, you get a response back because everything is a projection, right? So if you express yourself consistently and like in a deep way on those kind of fearful thoughts, you will get a response back. And what I have been finding out is that ever since we get ourselves out there with all the content of our minds, the light will shine on us and will give you through other people and through other experience that response that God is limitless and that you can do whatever you want to do. And that is probably the strength that this lesson is talking about. That when you really have something in your mind or in your heart that was like hidden, and then you express it, then you're pointing light. I mean, you're just putting it outside in order for the light just to come in and say, yeah, you thought you were limitless, but in fact you're not. And that's the unconditional love. The love is really, in truth, the love is unconditional. But here in duality, we always thought that love has limits and barriers, and those are not true. Love can only be expanded. I mean, only can expand. So I thought it was a good addition to what Sean has shared.
I would love to just add a thought that just came up when you were talking, Adriana. There was a quote that one of my mentors taught me, and it was, obstacles don't block the path, they are the path. And I really thought that related to what you said, and what was coming up.
Yeah, in fact, it's
when
amazing
you
because
said
really
that.
those are not limits, are just, yeah, it's like the GPS analogy. I mean, if you set up your mind to just be one with God, then if you find limits in your process, they are not limits. They are just how do you say that in English? There's kind of, it's not barriers, it's something that guides
Growth
you.
opportunities.
Yeah, it's just that if you set your mind, those opportunities, no.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different ways of putting it, but yeah, we and correct me if I'm wrong, but we have lots of opportunities to figure out how to make these barriers into our best teaching, our best teaching books. Let's say every experience that we go through that allows us to prove to ourselves that we do have a connection with God just helps us in the next situation have a little bit more faith. It's a faith building exercise for me.
And you can be sure that the path that has all these obstacles on it that we're going to walk is not very crowded. There are not many people who will go through what seems to be insurmountable obstacles. So it's a really, I like, Stephanie, the way you put it, because it's almost like there's a flashing light that says this is the way for you, and don't worry about the obstacles. Of course, that's not true for everything, because if there's something that says this is the edge of a cliff, you don't really want to go through that one. But if it's something that you've thought about and it means something to you, you can do it. I have to say that when I was concerned about whether to keep moving on this thing in Liberia, which is a complete change of life for me going forward, if it occurs the way it looks like it probably will, I began to wonder about whether we can handle it with money and all the other things that have to be done. And I don't have to worry about any of the details now, because she's not here right now, but Dr. Amy asked the 4 questions, and the first one was all I needed. She gave me the breakthrough, frankly, and it was, okay, let's see now. I had it in my mind just a second ago. Just leave it to me. It'll come back to me. absolutely can't find it. I'll be back. Talk among yourselves.
But it's funny.
Yeah.
I was
Okay.
laughing too.
I got it. I got it. Why? What was the reason that you first got interested in this thing? Meaning, you're choosing now. You're trying to decide: do you want to keep going or do you want to quit? And the first part of four questions. Well, the first question of four was, what was your motivation in this thing? And I thought about it, and had spoken to my wife many times about it, trying to discuss it. But the main thing I wanted to do, because I saw it as a way for Black people to be able to return to Africa, to go live in Africa with, to some degree at least, without the racism that they often have to confront here. I saw it as a way back to their homeland, and we've talked about that. It, all of those things, but never once, frankly, was it about the money. It was not motivated by money. It was motivated by something I can do on a pretty big scale for Earth, for this planet, for our people, for all people. And when I realized that it wasn't just because I was going to make a lot of money and I was worried about money at the same time, which was a conflict, then it freed me up to know that my way of my way into it was the correct path, and then to use one today's statement or yesterday, God is the strength in which I trust. If I got this far, I can trust that I'm going to keep going on it. And that made a huge difference because I really wasn't 100% sure at that particular moment. But now I am. And it
And in
feels
fact,
pretty
you
wonderful.
told me yesterday that you were really focusing on asking like guidance, asking help from the higher source. So whenever we feel those limits, we might as well think of them like being from the ego or being just the guidance that God is putting in our path in order for keep us in the right path. So um, when you ask the help, the Holy Instant, or the help from Holy Spirit, it really came to, I mean, the answers really came through because yesterday, for example, I saw Bob struggling. I mean, I saw him being like in a different mood yesterday. So I knew that something was happening, but I didn't know what was it. And it was all these thoughts um, around what he's just said. But as he moved forward during the day with this kind of realizations, he understood that he was just like really receiving the answers that he was unable to make for himself. So everything just gets sorted in a way that he could easily find the support that he was needed. And everything started to line up to that thought because he really made his process, his thought process of reconsidering why everything was being done in the first place. And that led him straight back to God. And when you ask God, God always answers.
Well, not only that, I just remembered that it was Stanley who came here into this room yesterday, who turns out to be one of the potential resources. He, I have always known he was a developer, and I missed the time that he was giving a talk in Clubhouse on how to raise money. I only heard the title, which was How to Raise $2 billion and how he raised $2 billion. What I didn't know is he was in South Africa something very similar to what I'm going to be doing in Liberia. Not only that, but he is actually building a train, the train tracks, not so much that he's building a train, from South Africa up to Ghana. And guess what? It goes right, I'm not sure yet if it goes through Liberia or close enough so that we will connect to it. But we already had that in our funding to connect to that train that we knew about. But I didn't know until yesterday when I talked to him that he was the one developing it and he had talked about it in Clubhouse. So, I mean, gosh, gee whiz, everybody. He came right here to this Clubhouse room yesterday, and I hadn't seen him in months, and said, well, he said what he said. And then when I called him, he said, oh, yes, that's what we're doing. And there are some people who don't even believe that that kind of funding is possible. And guess what? They don't get it because it is possible, and Stanley had done it. So that cleared up that problem. I mean, how
Best
much more
miracle
easy?
ever.
How much more easy could he make it? God, how much more easy could he make it for me?
Hmm.
And all I can say is, duh, and 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 just feel great. It's absolutely miraculous. It's everything that we're taught here.
Phenomenal. Janine, I'm so happy you're here. I was talking with Tom about you this morning, and would love for you to come up. We've got another photography task for you if you're willing to undertake it. And Dad, I'm so excited for you, man. I know Stanley is somebody that you can really put your faith in. He's got the experience, he's got the local knowledge, he's based in Africa and has been his whole life. That's a man that I really feel can help you guys get traction, and it really uh, bolsters my confidence in your ability in this project. So I'm super excited for you. Thank
Good morning, guys. I overslept.
you. No problem at all. No problem at all. So this morning, the thing you need to remember is God is the strength in which you trust. He's got your back. We had a great lesson this morning. I'll let you listen to the replay instead of doing it all over. But and Tom's not here. I talked with Tom this morning. We'd love to get a copy of the book that I read from every morning here. It's A Course in Miracles workbook for dummies. It's one of Tom's books, so we can get pictures of all three of the books that I read from and have some better pictures to put up. So I'll put you in touch with him or get your address and get him to send you a copy. That was it.
I know where I can get a picture of that, Lee, and
Okay.
I'll
But I
talk to
want
you later
to
about
get
it.
a physical, okay.
Oh,
I want to get a
physical.
physical copy in Janine's hands because she's taken pictures of the purple book and the blue book. And I know that with all three of them
Oh,
together, we have a really nice little, yeah,
super.
that's it.
Awesome. Should I back channel you my address or try to find
Yes,
Tom?
please.
Okay.
Oh, you can, either way would work actually. But yeah, thank you. That'd be great.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Sure. All right. Anybody else have something to share? I can go back into this lesson if we need to come back, and we've got this question that we can talk about a minute if you want. God is the strength in which I trust is our theme for the day. I can tell you when I was reading through today, I was trying to put different kinds of emphasis on the way that I was reading it because the word strength, this is the first time we've had the word strength come in, and there's a lot of preconceived notions wrapped up with strength about being a positive, good thing here. And it felt like the right thing to do. The question was, can you ever escape your fear of inadequacy? If you believe that you're the body and the body is you,
I
can
think
tell
the
you.
answer is no.
I can tell you my answer would be no. I've spent my whole life figuring out that the only way to get uh, out of fear is to get out of my own head. So believing I'm a body and the body is me is the only way surefire way to get into fear.
It's funny because you just used the phrase that we all do. I got to figure this out. And after you've tried to figure it out 23 times and still haven't, quote, figured it out, and you give up, that's when you go back to the realm where we need to be. Let the Holy Spirit tell us what to do. It's a lot easier. When I find myself trying to figure something out, that phrase itself will always tell you that that's usually the ego saying, "Hey, I got this. Here's," that's all I have to say. "Hey, I
No
got this."
problem. I'll show you how to screw this up. I got you.
It's it's really amazing. Um,
I don't think we. Um, I'm sorry. I don't think we really understand how deeply is that belief system in ourselves. I mean, it's just by experience with the book and the concept of the book that I totally now can understand myself in that part of inadequacy, because now that my life has been turning like in this whole new experience with Lee and things like that, I really found so much huge, like, I don't know, wrong thoughts about myself that I didn't even, it's just that we didn't even know that they are there, those thoughts. And then you find this book and start to really like taking these ideas into consideration, and everything starts to really like appear in front of you just for you to look at it, really look at it, and try to work with that with another mindset. Things around, for example, how we as women really have so much body shame and we don't even realize it. We don't even know how deep is in our thoughts and in our minds the concept of beauty and being adequate. It's just adequate. We don't ever get to feel like that because we are so into our experience with the body that we think that the body is everything. And as we believe that the body is everything, we believe that all the experience from the past is the only truth, and those experiences in the past are just really like the ego content of you being apart from God. And I don't know, I just feel like this book really brought to my life, brings to my life a whole new experience in life, and it's breaking really deeply this inadequacy belief system from the level of the form to the level of the spirit. I have been encountering so many new layers in me that I didn't even know they existed, and I wish that for everyone in here, because in relationships you can find your best resonator for your ego or the best mirror or viewed light. So I'm transitioning right now from the resonator of my ego to the true mirror of my light, and that is such a miracle and such a wonderful experience, because now I get to see really the truth, and I can deal with my life in the level of the form in such a invulnerable way that is really mind-blowing, because it takes courage, but only to let yourself be vulnerable. I mean, courage comes from being vulnerable, and that it's amazing.
You deserve to be happy. We all deserve to be
We
happy.
all.
That's what God wants for us. We're here, and our book says it. We're here to make happy and be happy. The
This
whole
morning,
point.
I heard the news that Sandy Hook Group won an enormous victory again over the company that made the gun that killed so many children and adults. And what they, because so much of the past laws were set up in such a way, because of that, no one has ever been able to win this against the people who make it. And the way they won it was just like you're talking about. They won it because they proved that they were saying to kids and teenagers, whatever, be a man, have a gun. And you talked about shame, and we all suffer in different ways. You're not man enough to go out and kill a few people. That's the unheard part of what they're saying. And if you have a gun in your hands, that is what won $76 million or whatever it was. I don't remember. It's not important, but Tom mentions these three words often, and they really are the things that mess us up. That shame and guilt and fear. Fear is not
No, shame, blame, and guilt.
blame. Yeah, blame someone else. That's how you get out of it. That's what the ego constantly does. So if they're shaming a woman because her body is not quite as perfect, then she can go do this and do that and all kinds of things to make it look more perfect and spend a whole lot of money, when in fact what really counts is so much what kind of person she is, what kind of people we are. Are we people who can really make a difference in this world? And that's when we know that we can, because we read lessons like today. The strength of God. I have the strength to do anything that needs to be done that's been put in my lap, because I have the strength of God as my source. And I am a part of that God, and therefore I have that strength. I don't have to be shamed. I don't have to be blamed, and I can't be guilty.
When you place your trust in the strength from God, you're safe from your ego's belief in limitation. The laws of perception have no ability to bind a son of God unless you decide to abdicate your own power and argue for your own limitations. Your egoic belief in your inadequacy is the source of all fears. Your acceptance and trust in the Holy Spirit is your salvation. The strength of God is your source for your inner peace. That is your destiny. The advice of the Holy Spirit protects you from all egoic misperceptions. Provisional reality has no power to change the truth with a capital T. You remain as God created you, perfect, whole, and complete.
Pretty terrific.
Thanks, Tom. You wrote a really good book, man. Appreciate it.
And I think that kind of comes back to the body comment that Adriana was mentioning before. I've heard many spiritual teachers, one of the first things out of their mouths is that you are not your body. And, we talk about
Yes.
the soul, we talk about the spirit, we don't talk about my thighs.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. It's not my foot. It is not my foot.
That's right. And then the other thing that's said is that you are not your brain, right? I think that we think about a lot of things. We try to reason, we try to process, and that's part of the spiritual journey, but it's not the entire journey, right? The journey for me is accepting what is. And in fact, one of my favorite mantras when stuff gets really stressful, and I have bipolar disorder. I have all kinds of issues with my brain. I had a big concussion that made it worse, and yada yada. So I truly can't trust my brain all the time, but I can trust the spirit. I can trust God. And when things are really deep and my brain can't process what's going on, the stress and the fear, because there feels like there's an actual physical limit that I kind of have to hold on until I get through it. More so than when this mental disease was less rampant. And so using that lesson that I'm not my mind and that it is radical acceptance, I'm able to get beyond that fear. I'd like to sit here, look at a mirror, and sometimes degrade myself of, oh, I wish I hadn't gained so much weight, while I'm separating from my wife. I'm stressed.
It won't matter.
It won't matter because I still have myself, and it's not my physical self. It's
You're not
myself
that
with a
body,
capital
right?
S. That self that's connected to all of the other selves, everybody else in this room. And that body, it is just huge. It's really not touchable. That body I take with me. I could go to jail. It's still with me. It doesn't matter where I'm at. And it's just comes back to I'm not my body. And it comes back to, I am the spirit. I am the self with a capital S. And that when I'm not in that mindset, I do feel smaller. I do feel a lot more fear. And as a result, I need to be very compassionate with myself until I can get through it. And that compassion, I believe, is the love of God. I believe the compassion is a resonance with his infinite understanding. And I don't mean his like a guy thing. I just, it's kind of a pronoun.
Yep.
But,
We're all breaking habits.
you
It's
know,
all right.
yeah, right on. So anyway, thanks.
Sean, that was great. Thank you. I've seen you change throughout the years. I've known Sean since I was about 13, and boy, it's amazing to see somebody grow through the years, and it helps have mirrors in your life, so that their growth can become your growth. It's it's one of the true blessings of having some good old friends. So worthy
There's
of holding
something
on
I
to. Go ahead.
didn't mean to interrupt.
It's all good.
Thank you, Sean. It's amazing how the Holy Spirit works. It's perfect timing that I had signed on when I did. That was very helpful what you just said, because apparently I've had ADHD much of my life, and then I found out toward the end of my marriage that my ex had ADHD. I think he had it more severely than me, and was
Oh,
just learning about it. And so, because we are not our minds, I think we both did some things that seemed like he realized that he didn't do things he wanted to do, and it appeared as if he didn't care.
yeah.
And of course he did. And that was, at the time, I saw it one way, which led to us getting a divorce. And I'm sure he saw me in a certain way. And and when I look back over my life, I recognize, boy, I haven't been a great friend to people just because it's not that I didn't love them.
Yep.
It's just when you have focus issues, when your brain is doing weird things, it just
I am
wasn't.
so with you. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like I do not think about people's birthdays and their anniversaries. So more recently, and I guess it's still going on too, because I have an old friend in another state, and her and her husband, their anniversary was yesterday. I totally forgot it. And it's such, they have a beautiful marriage. They're probably the most shining examples of marriage I've
It's
seen.
not too late. You can still send
Well,
something
I
today.
did. I
Yeah.
posted something on their daughter's page because she did a beautiful
There you go.
layout of them. And then I also sent her a text, but there was no response. So
That was a lovely solution. You did something. Oh my
I
goodness. I've
did.
lived
Well,
with ADHD for a long
really?
time. And just this
Uh-huh.
past week, I took my ex-wife in to get Dean, my son. He's 8. Started on Focalin, which is very similar to what I take, which is Concerta. It's there are a couple of ways that this deals some blows to our focus, but it can also be a superpower. I have really turned it into a superpower, and I'm definitely going to teach my son how, and I'm happy to show you too. There's everything that can be looked at as a deficit, there's another side to that coin, and that side is a unique power that you have that allows you to see and focus and spread your focus in a way that normal people can't. So, it's just a matter of looking at it in a whole
Well,
different way.
yeah, I was getting somewhere with it. I know it's kind of
I'm
going
sorry.
around. No, that's okay. No, I appreciate you saying that because it's nice to know when others are dealing with it. I guess I have
You are not alone.
yeah, I have a different viewpoint of it, Lee, because my son, like the school system, they had labeled him when he was a little boy, and I just was resistant to the medication, and I just didn't like it. I'm not a fan of prescription meds. Personally, that's just my personal thing. So I fought against them. Finally, one year, my ex convinced me that he should take it, and he did, and for a year, and his personality, my daughter said they were on the bus together, long story. And because by the time, you got to take it before, well, probably around when you get up. And, but by the time he got on the bus, I didn't see him. And they were on the bus together. And my daughter said, Mom, she confessed, Mom, he's different. By the time he's on the bus, he's like a zombie, like his personality's gone. Because he's always like a really light, bubbly kind of kid, really jokey. And it was like that left. And so after a year, I just said, that's it. No more of that. I think he was around 13, 12. Fast forward to 19.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you only tried one drug? Because there's like five different things. If you don't get the first one, then it's definitely like within a month or so you could easily switch to generally they fall into, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but
No,
you know
it's all
what?
right.
I'm going to let you finish your story, and I'm so sorry. Please
It's
continue.
okay. Well, let's just say this so you have perspective. It's very funny. I'm very much a naturalist and in the herbs and natural things. So
Oh,
that's
okay,
kind of where
yeah.
I'm at. And then my ex, he's in the pharmaceutical industry. so, so we're like on
Right,
opposite
right,
ends of things.
right.
And so fast forward to now, I don't want to make a long story because I could. It's been so much with this.
Mm,
They're both on it. And
okay.
um, and I could see the changes in my son. I forget what the kind he takes now. And he's in college, and I think it helps him. But my method has been to use meditation, and that's been the answer for me. But I still do
Mm,
stuff. And so back to the story of my friend, she never responded, and my heart just ached because I felt like she's kind of done with the friendship. Just because it's important to her. Like for me, if somebody misses my birthday or anniversary, whatever it is, I don't care. Like it's not a big deal for me. Whereas for some people, those things signify, oh, this person doesn't care about me, or this
mm-hmm.
person doesn't love me, because those dates are so important to them in their life.
Yeah.
And if you don't call regularly, I'm the type of person, if we don't talk for a year or two, I'm the same. Like I still love you, and we just can jump back in. But a lot of people, particularly women I've known, are not like that. They need to hear from you, every other day or
Yeah.
every week. And if you don't, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But back to what, so I was saying, I love this because it's allowed me to know that God is within me, and I can live in God's strength. And I went back to yesterday's lesson um, as well, knowing that I'm loved, and I am loved, and it's all right. And just in those moments to just be very kind to myself, and say it's okay, and know that it
Mm,
is okay. So I found peace with these teachings so much.
that's what matters.
Yes, it is.
You know what, Janine? The phone works both ways. So if that person needed or had to have the opportunity to talk to you, she could have picked up the phone too.
She
Um,
did.
my,
She
my,
did, Bob, more often than I did.
Oh, okay. Well, even so, numbers are kind of like the body shame, and there's all those different things that go on. We all are doing the best we can. I also had ADHD. I still have it in a way because I I remember picking up a book about 20 years ago. No, it was actually 10 years ago now that I remember when it was too. And it started off, um, there's 130 questions, and it says, answer yes or no. So I went through it, 130 questions. And at the end, I counted up how many times I said yes. And the book went on to say if you said yes at least 30 times to 30 questions, then you probably have ADHD. I answered yes to over 100. So I said, oh my goodness, I think I've got a problem here. And then I went on to read more of the book and so on. But I didn't go to the point of taking medicine because to me that seemed extreme. And I also think, like you do, Janine, in general, that um, drugs and medicine is not the way to go. But there's a big difference between our mind and our spirit, and it's hard to differentiate that. In fact, I'm not sure it can be differentiated, but I can tell you this, that there is a drug that I take, and I take it every month, every day, and I know it helps me to think more clearly and stay focused. And if that pill is doing that, I'm for it. And when the time comes that I don't need it, I won't take it. But in the meantime, if it makes life a little bit better for me, I will take it. It's that simple. It's the spirit is the piece of God that we are. We are a part of God. The mind is not the same thing as our spirit. We have a mind, but we are a spirit. So I don't see it. Anything that can help my mind is just the same as if it's something else that's helping my body in some way. Or, I mean, let's just say extreme. I would say like a crutch or something. So I think we can revisit the whole idea about what can enhance our life and not be afraid to take a drug because we think it's going to do something else to us, and it could. So I would say we all know this. If you listen to any advertisement, you have to look at what that whole thing is about. And I think that's where Lee was going, because he has a lot of understanding, a lot more than I do, about those kinds of psychological problems. But they're not spiritual. It's a mental thing, and I differentiate those two. So that's my thought on that. Anybody else has a thought? I'm not, you know.
Yeah, I got a couple of thoughts.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'd love to hear yours first. I can wait. No problem.
Well, I find there's just different schools of thought on it. I know people. I have an herbalist, and I've seen side effects in my son, and then they want to give him another medicine for that side effect, and then I just feel it goes on, and it's just it's such a personal decision, and I get what you're saying. I really do. It's just it's tough. It's just like so many things in our society. There's appears to be, it's duality and everything, two ends to the stick, about everything. So, but I get what you're saying, Bob. I didn't really have much to add, but I'm still kind of into, just not really putting much in my body other than natural things, things that weren't made in a lab, put together in a lab, I guess. And I know Holy Spirit works through everything. It is in everything. And it's just been a personal choice. And for me, what has worked is more rest, yoga, meditation, those sort of things really help my brain to just settle out and relax, and not have too many, um, the television and all these things, too overstimulation. But the beautiful part of it is, I think what you were trying to get at earlier, Lee, is that there's so many beautiful aspects to this. I'm able to, I have a lot of different things that I can do and I'm able to do, whereas a lot of people I know, they can't really do all these things that I can do. and I've created a lot of things. Maybe I haven't finished all of them, but it's also a gift to be able to do these things. So
Yeah.
I do look at it in a beautiful light. I don't look at it as a negative thing at all. I just look at it as one aspect of my being, and I don't like labels really. I think we all, the society likes to label everything so we can
It
put
makes it
people in
easy.
boxes. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Put those
So
pigeons in those holes.
yeah, yeah. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. So, anybody else? I think I'm going to go on the whole other end of the spectrum. No? What, Dad? You're circling. What's up?
I was just gonna say we can. I think it's time for. I know for me, I'm gonna have to leave pretty soon. So let's see if we can wrap it up.
Well, thanks, Dad. So I'd like to actually propose the whole other end of the spectrum here. I feel like I spent some good time focusing on an herbalist kind of approach to taking care of my body. I went vegan for a while. That did miraculous things for me and my acne when I was in my teens. And I spent years getting colonics to try and purify myself and kind of do everything I could in a certain direction. And that utility was one removal of a level of identity for me at an early point in my life. It was my first kind of separation of self happened after I had done some fasting and I had kind of uh, kind of been vegan for a while, and it was about 6 months or so, and I had kind of achieved this separation, and then I went to Burger King and got along with my life. And it was one little phase that I went through, and I probably didn't explore that aspect as much as I needed to, but I went on to work at a hospital and saw the utility of drugs, and then I went to school for psychology and saw the utility of how we work with people's minds and use statistics to model all of those to find out what works and what doesn't work. And I used that to try and figure out the science part of what I believe in. And so for me and my body, which I care about my body, it's great, but as much as I can, I would love to be separate from this thing. It's not me. And the more I focus on me, the more I worry about me. And that's what the last 5 years of my life really has been. It has been really, as much as I can, I have tried to separate myself this last part of the last 5 years. I've probably eaten the worst in my life. I have figured out the how to keep my depression, which is my main, I guess, mental disability is depression, at bay. But I was really close to suicide many times in the last year, and I was getting to the kind of end of my rope, trying to figure out how to get closer to my kids and what to do. And I lived far away, and it finally broke that I was able to move closer to them, and that has really changed innumerable things in my life. I've also come to these rooms and gotten more vulnerable than I ever have before, including right this second. I've got my pill in front of me that I'm going to take so I can have focus for today and I can deliver top-notch work to the company that pays me. And and I find that a utility for me. This is like a toolbox, and I can take whatever I want. If it's a French fry that doesn't suit me, I don't have to eat that. And I use stevia instead of sugar. I try and limit. Like, I've got some areas that now that I'm living on my own, I'm in a lot more control of my diet and what my kids' diet is. So um, I think I've explored these things in a number of ways, and I absolutely think your way is correct and it works for you, and I truly honor it. And I have tried to find a balance to use the things that scientifically seem like, hey, we've tested this out, and for these type of people, this works. And if it doesn't work for those type of people, maybe there's another approach. And down to the organic chemistry part of it, you can see they fall into some main categories, and you just have to ask the doctors the right questions. I spent the last 5 years living with a psychologist and learned a tremendous amount of what goes into psychological testing and what drugs work with what, and really, really checked everything out before taking this step with Dean. And Dean actually had this whole past week, he'd gotten in a fight every day in school, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday, I kept him home because he broke down in tears and just said, I don't want to go to school because I don't want to get angry. And we took him to the doctor that afternoon. It was the first time my ex-wife had ridden in the car with me in 5 years. She had surgery, so she was under anesthesia, so she couldn't drive. It was just kind of a perfect little miracle that we could all come together and sit and talk to the doctor and make a good family decision together. And if this drug doesn't work, we'll find a different one. This isn't exactly the one that I take, so it might be something different. And we might try another herbalist thing or some dietary changes. God knows he could use some dietary changes. But I'm open to God guiding me to whatever the right thing is. And I'm certainly open to any kind of information that I can learn that might make his life better or Grace's life better. And that's where I'm coming from. So it's 8:11, and if you guys need
Be-
to wrap up your day and go somewhere, you can.
May I interject?
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. In Revelations it states that God gave us herbs and roots to heal. With that ADHD, lavender water. My girlfriend had a daughter a couple of years ago that was having issues with ADHD and fighting and just nervousness and anger and everything. And she started giving her lavender water. Lavender is an oil, an herb that actually calms the nervous system and will relax you. So she started making, and you can buy lavender water online. She started giving her lavender water instead of just plain water to take to school, and she was drinking it constantly.
Mm.
And she calmed down. It took a while, but it worked. And so she would give her lavender water before she goes to school and give her a bottle of lavender water to carry with her while she was at school. And over time, she learned to control and become calm.
There is a lavender farm down the road from me, literally, and I can make lavender tea and
Right.
put that
And
in
you
his water.
definitely
That's a great idea.
and you could
I'm
also put it in his room or around the house as a plant. And that will change the atmosphere and possibly help change his in
I
the
will take that
process.
advice. I think a multi-pronged approach is great. And, we've got to
Exactly.
do social, emotional kind of stuff. There's, more play outside, less screen time, all kinds of things that will contribute. And the more things we do, the better we'll get. I mean,
Yes, you
why
will.
why
I
not
agree with
put
that.
everything in the right direction?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I know that I am pretty much a naturalist. I make oils for everybody and for everything and give recipes for people who need something. But
All
I
right.
am an herb person. That's
All
what I
right.
do.
I feel like I've got a lot to learn, and I'm excited to, like I can give you feedback. I'm sure I've got an aloe plant in the other room, and I've got an orchid, and I've got one little Christmas cactus. But yeah, I love that kind of stuff too. I think everything we can do to make our lives better, we should dive in and do. Let me just bring us back to our question or our lesson for the day. God is the strength. Ah, my goodness. God is the strength in which I trust.
And he will direct you.
Hmm.
I do a lot. The doctors want to give you all kinds of. I'm type 1 diabetic. So they want to give me all kinds of stuff to prevent kidney failure, to prevent heart attacks, I'd be like, my life is not that complicated. You know, I can sit in my house all day. I live alone, so I don't have those disruptions in my life to and I don't use all those pills because everything has a side effect. So I suggest that before you take it, make sure it's not going to add to your problem as opposed to defending it, you know,
So
because
I actually don't have any side effects on my pills. I'm taking two different kinds of dosages. I really, really have checked
no,
myself, and I'm good. I might be one of the few, but for me, I really don't have any of those side effects. I feel so
you know,
lucky.
and I think that a lot of times it's a mental thing, it's a consciousness thing. If they say, oh, this pill may cause, I remember one time they gave me a pill, and then one of the things, it may cause diabetes. I was like, you know what? I already have it. So what? It's going to make it worse?
Oh, Rosa, yeah. Well, that everybody. So my first year in psychology school, the very first thing they tell you in class is you're gonna do this. Everything you learn about here, you're gonna think you've got. And it's not, you're never going to be able to figure it out until you do some reflection and you get to, down the road in life, and lo and behold, there's a handful of things that I know I've got. It just makes it easier to diagnose later on, self-diagnose, if you're willing to be super honest with yourself. But it's the same challenges we all face, and I think as long as we're open to finding as many different solutions as we can find, and ah, you know what, I can just keep saying I've got a lot to learn.
That someone said, I think it was Ayana, when you're complete, you leave this planet. That's your death. When you have completed
Yeah.
whatever it is that you need to do and learn,
Mm.
then you're done and you die. We always are learning every day if we're open to it. And that's what this statement is. You trust God, no matter what, in everything, even in correcting illnesses, correcting situations. And the more we try to do it by ourselves, the worse it gets. So when we hand it over to God, and that's what this statement is actually saying, He's handling everything and we trust Him. I like to say when my thoughts come to me, is that the truth? Is that really what you want me to do? Show me more. And He will. He'll show you more in signs
Oh
as
my
you go through
gosh.
the day. He'll show you in pictures. You'll hear conversations that people will have. It's like,
I never thought about that, Rosa. That's brilliant. Holy cow. That's
He will if
amazing.
you're open. You just have to look. Look for the
I know,
miracle
but
because
that
it's
that
there.
that perspective of challenging that voice to show you more, that's so wonderful. Wow.
And He will. I'm telling you, I remember when I
Oh,
first
I could see
started
how that would deepen your faith. I could
yeah,
see it.
about
Yeah.
15. I guess I've been doing this for about 15 years. And I remember I used to read like different passages from different places, for the day. You know how you have those prayer books and thought books. Well, I used to do like four different things and then listen to a pastor on TV. And one day I
Yeah.
realized that they were all talking the same stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
I was
Yeah. It
like,
came
God, is
together.
this the message that you're going to tell me? Show me more. And I went out in the day, and I usually go through DC and catch the bus and everything. And I was seeing the same thought. These two kids were sitting talking at the bus stop, and they were talking about the same thing that I had read about that day. Children. I
Yeah.
was like, okay,
Yeah.
God, I got you. I see we are connected. So you have a message for me. I need to make sure that I am looking out for that message during my day,
I'm
and
getting
noticing
pictures of
it.
47 today. 47, lesson 47. God is the strength in which I trust. And Adriana sent
Yeah,
me a picture of this 47. It's all of a sudden that's it. Yeah, those the echoes throughout your life, I think, signal you're on the right path, and it's a
yes,
wonderful feeling.
it is. So congratulations.
Yeah. Well, we will be here tomorrow at 6:30. If you've got to be on your day, tomorrow will be lesson 48. Obviously, there's There's nothing to fear. That's what tomorrow's is. But today, we've got 3 more times. And you know what? If you guys want, I could lead us through a meditation, and then we could be on our day. You guys want to do one more? That will get 2 under our belt for the day. And then you only have to do 2 more, and you can have a great rest of your day. What do you say?
Sure. I
All
think
right.
that's a great idea.
Rosa, would you like to say a little bit and kind of lead us into the meditation, and then I could pick it up and kind of guide through the lesson part, if you'd like?
Okay, so let's all get quiet. Take 3 deep breaths. Let's start here and slowly let them out. And think about the statement. That's what you're going to be meditating on. God is.
God is the strength in which I trust. Yeah.
So let's breathe. Do it again. God is the strength in which I trust. And again, God is the strength in which I trust. And you may begin. You can pick it up whenever you're ready. God is the strength in which I trust.
I was picking it up, but I was on mute. And so I talked to myself for a moment or two. I'm here though. So the rest of this is just going to be another couple of moments. Close your eyes and repeat this idea to yourself. God is the strength in which I trust. Let your mind kind of open up and look for anything you've got, a situation in your life, in your mind, something that's got a little fear tied to it. And then aim this thought at that. God is the strength in which I trust. Let the next one come about. Next little fear, next little red flag, whatever it is. God is the strength in which I trust. Anything you might have invested with fear. Stubbing your toe on a tall nail, anything. God is the strength in which I trust. Anywhere you might feel inadequate. God is the strength in which I trust. Anywhere you feel frail in life. God is the strength in which I trust. Anywhere you feel weak, confidence in your real strength, which comes from God, is fully justified in every respect and all circumstances. God is the strength in which I trust. You'll recognize that you've reached a place of real safety if you sense a deep sense of peace, however briefly. There's a place in you where there is perfect peace. There's a place in you where nothing is impossible. There's a place in you where the strength of God abides. Today, repeat this idea to yourself. God is the strength in which I trust. Try and think that to yourself every 10 minutes or so. And you can come back to this recording later on today if you want to have another guidance through this. There's two. Remember that peace is your right because you are giving God your allegiance. God is the strength in which you trust. Have a great day, everybody.
Peace and blessings, everyone. Have a fabulous day. And remember, God is your trust. Peace and love.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Love to everyone.
Love to everyone. Yeah.